so I found a spot that I liked after hiking through the woods a little bit. I came across this frozen pond. I'm not sure if you can see this very well. It's honestly a little bit sketchy walking out on it, but you can see. Okay, this is actually super sketchy. I'm gonna go head up, and we need to go set up our tent. We need to get warm. So we're kind of whoa, fuck. Okay, that was fun. So we're out in the middle of nowhere, actually. So I'm just gonna set the tent up right here. Okay, so got the tent propped up. Now, as you can see here, we're still kind of sleeping on the snow, so it's definitely going to be cold, but we have tools to fix that. Okay, but let's get everything inside the tent now. Okay, we got all of the tent spikes in. We have the tent up, and there's that lake, or pond. Okay, so first thing I want to show you is how I spiked this down. You can see that I didn't go straight in. I actually pulled it out a little bit. This right there, that is so that we can have a fire in the tent later tonight. So I'm going to pack all of this stuff up and move into my new house. Okay, we're in the tent now. It's pretty small, but the next problem we have is that the floor we're sitting on is pure snow. So this is super cold. We're going to come into my backpack and we're going to fix this. You'll see why we put that little triangle out, so now I've got a spot for my shoes. Okay, now that we are in the tent, let's go through all of the stuff that I brought. Lots and lots of food. I'll go through all of the food that we have in particular later, but got a lot of food. This is an inflatable bed. We can sit on this and it'll keep the ground from melting underneath us. Pot for cooking stuff in. Inflatable pillow. Sleeping bag number 1. We have 2 because it's super cold here. The tablet that I'm going to be editing everything on, all of this video. But this is the real trick here. Candles. I think that these will be super helpful in keeping things warm later tonight. And a Mongo battery pack to keep all my stuff powered until we can get these solar panels hooked up. This is the one that we're going to put on the floor to keep all of the to keep the floor super insulated. We have another sleeping bag, so I can double bag it. Everything that I'll be using for the next 3 days, you just saw me pull out. Okay, now I'm spreading this blanket across the floor, again, because the floor is super cold and we need insulation there. While I slowly find a place for all my stuff. Okay, now let's go inflate that bed for extra insulation at the bottom right there. Okay, now that I'm in my tent, I've got my bedding all set up, kind of. Still have to undo my sleeping bags, but my feet are fucking freezing. These are the wet socks I was using from hiking, so I'm going to take these off. Okay, there we go. Got some nice wool socks on. Okay, now before I go get all my sleeping bags set up and get comfortable and start editing this video, let's get some heat up in here. Do you see how the candles, they're like indenting themselves into the snow because of the heat? I want to see if I can take that same process and make like a little stove with tea candles. Okay, so I'm going to take my peas and my potato soup and I'm going to use them as stilts to prop up my pot so that it can hold the pot up. Okay, now I've got my little teacup stove set up. I'm going to take some snow and I'm going to see if I can boil some water. Now, before I sleep, I want to show you guys what it is that I'm sleeping with. I'm still wearing all my clothes and my layers and whatnot, but I've got a sleeping bag, and then outside of that, I've got another sleeping bag, and then I've got a blanket for my feet and whatnot. Then, I'm sleeping on this inflatable mattress, and beneath that, I have another blanket. So, I'm pretty thick right now. Oh, my stove idea didn't work. Candles are not hot enough. Like, watch this. 4 o'clock in the morning. It is 15 degrees outside, Fahrenheit. And I woke up to light some more candles because they do make a noticeable difference on the temperature of my tent. So I have 7 of them lit right now. Just wait for the sun to come up. Just gotta wait for the sun to come up. Okay. 6 o'clock in the morning. It's super fucking cold outside. I'm getting back in my goddamn tent. I did realize something though. You see this candle, how there's so much of this wax around the rim that's unburnt and unmelted? That's because it's too cold. So I put them all inside my pot so that the heat can collect, and now the radius of the wax that's melted is much greater. Hopefully I can burn more of my wax this way. Good morning. It's 7:30. It's 15 degrees outside, or about negative 10 degrees Celsius. Last night was brutal. My inflatable bed kept deflating. It's actually deflated right now. And so I kept touching the ground. I kept freezing my ass off. I had to go outside and I had to take a piss. My little teapot stove was actually a godsend in terms of keeping everything manageable in here. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with my day now, though. Like, what am I doing here for 3 days? I can go collect firewood and I can go, like, fucking cook stuff. But, like, what was I actually thinking I was gonna do out here? Sleeping in the snow. Oh, I'm good at things. Okay, before I pack up and head out, I want to show you guys something. So, you'll see that I've got, like, my battery pack here in my sleeping bag. I've got some camera batteries. I've got this other battery pack. This is all because batteries do not do very well when it is cold outside. So keeping them in your sleeping bag keeps them protected. Okay, so I am back in town right now because I realized last night that my gear is totally insufficient for how cold it is outside. So I'm going to show you guys how to get some short-term camping gear for free and then use it and then give it back because Walmart's return policy is fantastic. So you remember before how I said that those were the only things I was going to use for this camping trip? I lied. It is way too cold. So I'm getting some fuel, some thicker socks, a stovetop, and a much thicker sleeping bag. Okay, now that I'm home, the first thing that I want to test is this solar panel here. This guy. It's nice and sunny outside right now, so let's see how she does. Okay, so as you can see, I've hung the solar panel on the side of my tent. Now I just want to get something to prop it up so that it'll point directly at the sun. Okay, let's go use this guy to prop up our solar panel. Okay, there we go. Now this is pointing directly at the sun using our little stick as a prop. You guys remember that frozen pond I was talking to you about last night? You can see it right now, and I want to go ice skating. Let's go. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do at the start of your day when you've been camping is clean up your tent, because things can get really disorganized at night, and you want to make sure that everything is up to spec so you can find it for the next night. Okay, so I've got my tent set up now with my new burner stove. Everything's all clean. Good morning. It is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, actually, but it is so much easier to sleep when it's warm outside. And given that the sun was outside today, it's much easier to sleep than it was last night. But the sun is going down, so it's going to start getting real cold again. Okay, you'll see here that I have some macaroni and cheese, some beef, and some milk in a thermos. So I'm going to try to make some hamburger macaroni and cheese on my little stove. Now, I know that it's dangerous to have your stovetop in your tent for carbon monoxide, so I do have this little vent right here with my stick. This is actually a super useful stick. Okay, so now we've got to go get some water to boil our noodles in, and luckily for us, it's fucking everywhere!
I'm not saying I would do it, but I understand the impulse.
I slept so much better last night. This sleeping bag is fantastic. But, in addition to that, listen. You hear that? That is the sound of rain, which is fantastic because it means that it's warm enough to melt water right now. It is honestly so much more comfortable in my tent right now than it was yesterday morning. Okay, so the sun is out again today. So, got the solar panel set up to keep all of my stuff charged through the night. Okay, so I'm up here, I'm trying to boil some more water, and my lighter broke. So, at this point, I have no source of a spark, so I can't light anything. So, I'm going to take this lightning USB cable, I'm going to snip it up, and I'm going to see if I can make a spark by short-circuiting the wires. In USB cables, you will have 4 wires. You'll have yellow, green, red, and white. The red and white ones are the ones that have power, so those are the ones that we're going to try to short together. Okay, so when I touch these wires together, let's see if we can see a spark. The battery is shorting out, I can see that from here, but it does not look like we are getting a big enough spark with 5 volts. So let's try something bigger. So let's try something that can have more voltage, like this barrel jack, connected to my 20-volt car jump starter. Okay, so I've got it plugged in my battery pack. Let's see if we can't get a spark with these guys. Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a shot. Okay, so I got it lit, and now I need to clean out my pot from yesterday's macaroni and cheese. Luckily for me, ice acts as an abrasive, so I can just swish this around inside the pot while it's melting, and it'll scrape the old stuff off of my pot. So that's cool. Okay, so now that I know that my ability to make fire is going to be limited, I want to go ahead and start making a fire so that I can use the hot embers there to light my stove in the future. So let's go get some firewood and make a fire. Okay, so I've got some kindling right here. I've got a bit of firewood. Now, let's get the site prepared where I'm going to have the fire. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do to prepare the site is we're going to roll up the tarp on the top of the tent. I want to show you guys something cool. So, if you've been camping for a while, you probably already know this, but if not, you'll see that your tent has these little ribbon things, and underneath that it'll have this little barbell looking thing. You just put the barbell in the ribbon, and now your tent is held up. Okay, so I want the fire to go roughly here, so that I can still close the tent later. Now, I don't want the fire to be particularly big, because I don't want to have to use lots of fuel to feed it. But I want it to be big enough that I can get some hot coals and embers later in the night to restart a fire if I need to. burning all of the leftover wax from my candles. Now let's take some of the milk from yesterday and make some hot chocolate. That looks perfect. Now let's see if I can pour it back into my thermos. Okay, I am not optimistic about this at all. Hey, it's not that bad. The water bottle is trying to fall over.